the blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through.
Venezuela will continue to trade all its products in the spirit of the generation of liberators. Trade will continue back and forth with our oil and all our natural resources. It is truly an aggressively warlike and expansionist colonialist claim. Never, ever. Never, never in the light. Venezuela will never be a colony. Of nothing, of no one. Never.
The sun of Venezuela rises in the Essequibo, and its national territory. Yesterday, unfortunately, we heard some truly and quite frankly utterly delusional statements from the President of the United States of America.
The land of Venezuela belongs to Venezuelan women and men. Venezuela's oil belongs to Venezuelan women and men. Venezuela's gold belongs to Venezuelan women and men. Venezuela's sky belongs to Venezuelan women and men. The seas and rivers of Venezuela belong to Venezuelans.
U.S. President Donald Trump on December 17th announced an escalating move against Venezuela, directing a total and complete blockade on all sanctioned oil tankers headed to or leaving the country to ramp up pressure on President Maduro. The move aims to hit Venezuela where it hurts most, placing a literal chokehold on Caracas's economy by targeting its main source of income. But will Venezuela bow down to POTUS's threats and return the U.S.'s oil, land, and other assets that President Donald J. Trump claimed Caracas stole? Well, the answer is certainly a no. Defying Trump's blockade order, Venezuelan strongman Nicolás Maduro declared, "Venezuela will continue to trade oil." What does President Trump want? Well, a lot of things. But at present, looking at the scenario in the Caribbean, Trump wants a total and complete blockade on sanctioned oil tankers headed to or leaving Venezuela. After designating Nicolás Maduro's government a foreign terrorist organization for the alleged theft of U.S. assets, terrorism, drug smuggling, and human trafficking, Trump now vowed that he won't let anybody through Venezuela blockade. Period.
It's the blockade. Not going to let anybody going through that shouldn't be going through. You remember they took all of our energy rights. They took all of our oil from not that long ago, and we want it back. But they took it. They illegally took it. Getting land, oil rights, whatever we had, they took it away because we had a president that maybe wasn't watching. But they're not going to do that. We want it back. They took our oil rights. We had a lot of oil there. As you know, they threw our companies out, and we want it back.
Not submitting to Trump's belligerent posturing, Maduro holds his head high and declares his country will continue to trade oil and other products amid the blockade order. Speaking at an event, Maduro said Venezuela's natural wealth belongs solely to its sovereign people. He accused Washington of pursuing warlike and colonial intentions and warned against what he called a U.S.-backed regime change effort.
Venezuela will continue to trade all its products in the spirit of the generation of liberators who rose up fighting against the Guipuzcoan Company. And trade will continue back and forth with our oil and all our natural resources, which by constitution, by Bolivar's decree, our resources, our land, and our oil belong to us, to its only legitimate owner for all eternity, which is the sovereign people of Venezuela, who are the absolute owners of the land, of its soil, and of all its wealth. Today I spoke with the Secretary General of the United Nations. We conversed for quite an extended period, and I thoroughly explained to him the escalating pattern of aggressions and the serious threats that were being made. And what has happened yesterday and today when the United States government says that these things belong to them and that we Venezuelans are stealing their oil. In other words, that Venezuelan oil belongs to them. That Venezuelan minerals, gold, and all other minerals belong to them. And something we had never heard before, that the lands of Venezuela belong to them and that we have to return them immediately. Quite simply, it is truly an aggressively warlike and expansionist colonialist claim. Furthermore, international law, as I told Secretary Antonio Gutierrez, it protects us because it is fundamentally illegal. According to the established United Nations Charter and all relevant international agreements and conventions, to attempt to prevent the free and unhindered naval trade on the world's vast seas and expansive oceans. The truth has been revealed. Is a regime change being sought in Venezuela to impose a puppet government that wouldn't last even 47 hours, that would come to hand over the constitution, sovereignty, and all the wealth, turning Venezuela into a colony? Quite simply, that is not going to happen. Never, ever. Never, never in the light. Venezuela will never be a colony. Of nothing, of no one. Never.
While sources said most exports remained on hold, Venezuelan state oil company, PDVSA, resumed some loadings after a cyber attack, with Chevron vessels still departing for the U.S. Venezuela has requested a UN Security Council meeting to address what it calls ongoing U.S. aggression. Venezuela's National Assembly on December 17th unanimously approved a resolution rejecting President Trump's order imposing a full blockade on sanctioned oil tankers entering or leaving the country. The resolution formally rejected the blockade and reaffirmed Venezuela's sovereignty over its natural resources. Assembly President Jorge Rodriguez accused Trump of seeking to seize Venezuela's oil, land, and mineral resources, calling such claims outrageous.
The honorable deputies who are in favor of the agreement presented in condemnation of the outrageous statements made by Mr. Donald Trump, in which he intends to steal Venezuela's oil, land, and minerals. In accordance with Article 111 of the Rules of Procedure and Debates of the National Assembly, please indicate your vote in the usual manner. It is approved unanimously. It's absolutely absurd. It's truly and utterly outrageous that we actually have to say this. That today, more than ever, the land of Venezuela belongs to Venezuelan women and men. Venezuela's oil belongs to Venezuelan women and men. Venezuela's gold belongs to Venezuelan women and men. Venezuela's sky belongs to Venezuelan women and men. The seas and rivers of Venezuela belong to Venezuelans. The unredeemed history. The entirety of Latin America truly belongs to its resilient Venezuelans, because from this profoundly spilled blood arose the enduring freedom of the entire American continent. The intention is absolutely and unequivocally clear. And that intention, confessed by Donald Trump and ratified by Stephen Miller and expressed on his knees by the genocidal woman, Machado, this situation has, in fact, generated such profound and widespread outrage among the resilient and determined people of Venezuela that, at this very moment, more than ever before in our history, we are unequivocally ready and fully prepared to valiantly defend our cherished land and its sovereignty against any and all threats.
Venezuela's Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez on December 17th dismissed U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of a naval oil blockade as delusional and incoherent.
The sun of Venezuela rises in the Essequibo, and its national territory. Yesterday, unfortunately, we heard some truly and quite frankly utterly delusional statements from the President of the United States of America. Delusional indeed. When he stated and indicated that a supposed naval blockade was being established in Caribbean waters with a deployment, as he himself has said, unprecedented by his Navy, by the United States Navy in areas of the Caribbean. Absolutely no one. The Bolivarian National Armed Force has already announced something completely incoherent. Mr. Trump has said that we are the thieves, that we have stolen the oil that lies beneath our land here, but which they claim belongs to them. That is something completely inconsistent, incoherent, and, well, we could say today, people of Venezuela, December 17th, Venezuela. A victory has been achieved. A victory in the face of the truth. The truth has been revealed. Violence and those who resort to force and violence.
Trump and his administration started troop mobilization in the Caribbean in August. On September 2nd, the U.S. made the first move, and forces launched a strike on alleged Venezuelan drug boats, reportedly killing 2 survivors on War Secretary Hegseth's Kill All order. The U.S. named the mission against drug cartels Operation Southern Spear, aimed at ending narco-terrorism and protecting Americans. Until now, more than 20 vessels in the Pacific and Caribbean have been targeted by U.S. forces in recent months, killing at least 90 people as part of Trump's campaign against gangs transporting drugs in the region. Most recently, on December 17th, Joint Task Force Southern Spear carried out a lethal strike on a vessel linked to a designated terrorist organization in international waters, killing 4 alleged narco-terrorists with no U.S. casualties. According to U.S. intelligence, the ship was involved in narco-trafficking in the Eastern Pacific. Amid troop mobilizations, the deployment of the largest U.S. warship in the Caribbean, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, intensified naval patrols near Puerto Rico, and the seizure of the MT Skipper in a dramatic helicopter-repelling raid, the Trump administration has carried out what critics call one of its most outrageous moves yet, earning the label Pirates of the Caribbean from President Nicolás Maduro.